You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode is the Australian zombie comedy film Little Monsters, written directed by Abe Forsythe and released October 8th, 2019.
Ooh, not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. I had never heard of this movie before. I did not know it existed. I didn't know it was a thing until you were like, hey, let's cover this one. I was like, I don't know what this is. And I am so glad that you brought this movie into my life because it might be one of my favorite movies I've ever seen.
Awesome. Awesome. I like to think I know you pretty well now. And I know how much you loved Cooties.
Yeah, it has very much a similar vibe. And as much as I love that, this movie is definitely, I feel like I'm going to have to put it at least in my top 10. I don't know where it falls visually, but it's so good because it's hilarious. I'm just cracking up at so many of the jokes and the humor. There's a lot of dark humor, which I love. But the characters are just ridiculous. Zombie stuff is all really fun. And there's also so much heart because, it might have touched me emotionally a couple of times.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it was really cool. It had it all.
I really loved this movie the first time I saw it because it does have a lot of heart.
Mm-hmm.
But the heart is also surrounded, like you said, by all of this hilarious dialogue and situations so that when you're watching it, you don't know what's going to happen next, if you're going to be laughing or crying or what's going to happen, actually. So, to me, it just ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you liked it, because I was looking forward to recording this because I couldn't wait to hear what you thought. And since we don't really talk about it before we record, I've had to wait.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that you liked it because we're going to have a really fun discussion on this one.
Yes, I'm excited to jump into that.
Well, we can jump in the way that we always do, with some behind the scenes. It was filmed in Sydney, Australia, including Centennial Park and Fox Studios. The film had its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2019. Abe Forsythe is now getting a lot of attention as the creator of the Amazon Prime limited series called Wolf Like Me, that incidentally co-stars Josh Gad and Isla Fisher. Little Monsters has received 70% score on the Tomato Meter, which is the critic score, and 100% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. There was really no budget information, and it looks like it only grossed about $97,000 at the box office, which I think people are missed out. I would have loved to have seen this in the movie theater.
Because I don't think it even had any kind of wide theater release anyway.
No.
Though, so it was very indie.
Yeah. Sometimes these indie films they're wonderful films with great dialogue and well constructed and fantastic acting, and they just don't get enough attention. Yeah. But here on Run for Your Lives, we're going to give movies like this attention because
absolutely
more people need to see it. So this movie was 94 minutes long. Pake, why don't you give us the synopsis for Little Monsters?
All right. A washed-up musician teams up with a teacher and a kids show personality to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Pretty basic, cut and dry.
Kids show personality protecting young children. Well, we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if he did much protecting.
No, not at all. But there's a lot to say about that. There's a lot to say about this film in general. I mean, there's so much, so many good things.
Yeah. It's more like the washed up musician and the teacher have to babysit and take care of, a whiny, terrible brat man-child and a bunch of kindergartners.
Who are much more well-behaved.
Right.
than the children's entertainer, because I have a few words. Josh Gad killed it. He literally killed it in this movie when it comes to his performance, because you just hate him.
Yeah.
You hate him. And it's because he does such a great job bringing that character to life. So there's so much to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you said the kindergartners are more well behaved. Yeah, because I work with a lot of first graders right now. And they are a lot more rambunctious and have way more energy and don't like to listen and are a lot harder to corral. So Miss Caroline is an incredible teacher for keeping them all in one place for any amount of time.
You mean you haven't tried 1, 2, 3 eyes on me?
I have not. Maybe I need to break. I might have to break that out next week. See if that does anything. It won't, but we'll see.
No, it's a good thing to try, I think.
Right.
So when I was talking about this movie with a couple of friends, every time I would bring it up, they always said, "Oh yeah, that movie with Fred Savage and Howie Mandel." Well, no, that was different. Also called Little Monsters, but it came out in 1989, and it's not what we're covering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you're listening to this right now, thinking that's what we're talking about, and you're very confused, now you can understand why you're so confused. We're not talking about that movie.
Yes. We're talking about something entirely different that came out, 30 years after? Yeah. It's much better. So excited to be talking about this movie.
Oh, yeah. So with that, then let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Of course, we have our usual formula, if you will, about kind of breaking down characters. Again, it's kind of ensemble-based and feels a little bit more everything going on to everybody at one time. But we can do our best, and we can jump around, as I'm sure we will anyway. But
we always do.
We give ourselves at least some kind of semblance of structure, then we feel better about it. Who knows?
Yep. It's how things work here.
Yes.
We're totally
So I think we should start with who I would call the main character of the movie, which is Dave, right?
Yes. We're introduced to him in a really loud, rambunctious way.
Just a very Australian argument all over town, over and over, everywhere.
Yeah, Dave has a girlfriend, and they've been together for quite a while. And the whole opening sequence is them screaming at each other, basically.
Yeah.
Getting irritated. Everywhere. Restaurants, home, doesn't matter, they're screaming. And Dave, he's a musician. We learn that he has a band, a stadium rock / death metal band named God's Sledgehammer.
Yes.
And they show us that he actually goes out and plays on streets for change or money or whatever he can get.
Well, he attempts to do that. It just seems like nobody gives him any.
No. And we did get that one performance on the bus, but we'll get to that. Peg, you're a musician. You can give us some feedback on that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's Broken Down Bus Music Festival special performance by Dave from God Sledgehammer.
Yes.
Daddy, where did you go? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You should cover that song, Peg.
Right.
Put it on that CD we keep talking about. Not CD, album, because it's got to be like on vinyl, right?
Yeah, of course. But yeah, so we see this argument and we find out throughout the movie that the big part of the argument, at least what Dave thinks it is that she's ready to get married and have kids and have a family, and he's not ready for that. Mainly just he has his own fear of abandonment. Like his father abandoned him, and so he feels like he's going to be a bad father, and he doesn't have what it takes, and it's like genetic that he's going to be a terrible father and leave his own kids. So that's what's the hang up is. But then whenever he even confronts Sarah, his girlfriend, with Lord Vader in tow,
I love Lord Vader.
We realize that that's only a small part of it anyway. She's also like, and you're also just a man-child, and you don't show me the respect and love that you should, and I'm ready to move on regardless. So he's got more growth than just his own personal demons.
Yeah, she basically tells him there's a big difference between being with someone and being there for someone.
Yeah.
And that's what she tried to get across to him. But let's talk about the fact that he brings his 5-year-old nephew dressed as Darth Vader with a pizza box cover that says, "Will you marry me?" I mean, it's kind of sweet. And a little ring that he found under her bed, one of those, what are they called?
It's a pipe cleaner.
Pipe cleaner. So he makes her a pipe cleaner ring.
Yeah, what is this? First grade? I'm like,
yeah. He gets surprised when he gets there.
Yeah.
She's a little busy with her coworker Rory. And of course Felix, who we haven't talked that much about yet, is introduced to this situation, which his mom is not very pleased about.
Right. It's that kid. Yeah, because Dave's, after this breakup, he's crashing at his sister Tessa's place, and his sister has a 5-year-old son, which they love to bring up. It wasn't through some kind of marriage or relationship. He's a test tube baby.
Test tube baby.
But he knows it, and he's proud of it. And
yeah. Yeah.
He's cool with it. You know what, Felix? Live your best life, little homie.
But he loves his Uncle Dave. It's like, how long are you staying? Are we going to get to spend some time together? Like, that's all he cares about.
Yeah, and he's there to swear a whole bunch and expose him to VR zombie killing games. And
yes. Do you know what that game was?
I don't.
I don't.
I don't know if it was real or not. They make up a lot of fake games for movies, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Which, can we play the shooty game, Uncle David? I don't want to get us in trouble, so we'll have to play with the sound off.
He's the cool uncle, if you think about it. Parents don't want him to take care of the kids because they know he's going to let them do things that they don't really want them to do.
Right.
But they also know their kids are going to have such a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, cool aunts and uncles, everyone wants to be the cool one, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
It means bending rules and doing things like that.
Yeah. The Dave that we're introduced to at the beginning of this movie, I was like, Tess, you really shouldn't be trusting him with your child.
No.
What are you doing?
Not at all. But I feel like they had such a rough childhood, the two of them.
Yeah.
And Tess really took care of Dave. And that's what we learned, throughout this movie, is that we're learning it while Dave is realizing it. That Tess really took good care of him.
Yeah.
And he didn't appreciate it as much as he should have.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he shares his stories with Caroline, a.k.a. Audrey, Miss Caroline, a.k.a. Audrey, we really get to the root of where some of this worry and anxiety comes from.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Audrey, how he first meets her, of course, ends up... as punishment, having to take Felix to school, kind of. I don't know, that's punishment. I get to hang out with him. He seems cool.
Yeah.
But he realizes as taking Felix to school that Felix is being picked on by the other kids, which Dave has no problems insulting them immediately back. He's standing up for his nephew, which is really sweet. He does love Felix a lot, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
But just throwing jabs right back at the other kids, and
a little rough with the door, though.
Slams the one kid with the door. I'm like, I shouldn't laugh at that. But as he's saying, I just love kids, as he hits him, and it's just like, what happened, buddy? I don't know.
A door hit me.
Because he did that right after, because that kid was saying something like, Felix doesn't even have a daddy. Blah, blah, wham.
Yep.
He's there for his nephew, so I do appreciate that. And yeah, it's where he meets one hell of a beautiful teacher. Lupita Nyong'o as Audrey Caroline, and Miss Caroline can slay some tay-tay on the ukulele.
Yes, she
as
can.
they say. And so he's able to move on from Sarah pretty quickly now, huh? Doesn't take long after this point. He's like, oh, different person. I'm good now.
Yeah. But she seems like, it's not that she's better than him or above him, but she is much more put together than he is.
Definitely.
And she kind of, I think, at first, looks at him like he's a lost child.
Mm-hmm.
Because he behaves in that way around her. His efforts to try to impress her only make him look like a kid. Yeah,
and he quickly is doing a lot and feeling a lot for her. He knows they absolutely have nothing in common, but I mean, it's getting him over Sarah, and he's trying, I was like, as long as he's not a total creep about it, and nope, spoke too soon. Yikes. Not even going to go there on that one.
No, that's not. Let's just say there's one particular scene where he has a lot of thoughts and feelings and physical reactions to a photograph, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There you go. That's all we need to know. But he ends up just, again, doing a lot for her, where he's just impulsively is like, oh, you need somebody extra on this field trip. I'm in. I'm going. It's like, he's a terrible influence on children. He's the last person that should be on this trip. But yes. But he's going to do what he can to impress Miss Caroline. So he's ready for it.
He did, though. I mean, the next thing we know, though, they're on this bus that has broken down. Miss Caroline is on the ukulele, singing Shake It Off. The kids are into it. They love it. Yeah. And he's kind of just hanging out until Audrey, a.k.a. Miss Caroline, seems to be getting a little tired of performing. And decides that there's a musician on the bus that could sing a song for the children. Oh yeah, he's a professional. It's going to be great. And she always asks what the kids if they know what certain words mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite of that is when the zombies have really taken over and they're everywhere. And it was, do you know what unexpected means? Yes. Those kids are very smart. She's a great teacher. She really was, yeah. She was. There's a lot about her. I found her character as a whole to be just a badass. Mm-hmm. Things I didn't expect upon us first meeting her, she pulled out of her bag of tricks. And I was in 100% with her. Definitely. And Dave has his own kind of maturing arc as we go, because he gets better slowly about cursing in front of the kids and saying some pretty terrible things, because he's basically going off on this Max kid, which is kind of Felix's major bully, as much as you can have one in kindergarten. He's just kind of a jerk kid, but he's also just dumb. But poor precious Max. Maybe he'll get smarter as he grows up. It's fine. But yeah, so he's basically just like, oh, that's not what your mom said last night. He's like, you don't say that to a kindergartner. He's like, do you know my mom? You know my mom? He's like, yeah. She's like, no, we can't have this. We're not doing this. She's like, can I talk to you? And I'm just like, oh. They're all like, ooh, Dave's in trouble. You're on the bus with a bunch of children, and you're a child, too. Right. Oh, she's got her work cut out for her. Mm-hmm. But he steps up because that's kind of the moment right there while they're having their little aside with each other, is when the first zombie attack on the farm happens that we see that they're involved with. And immediately, which I was busting out laughing, the whole
again, it's like the dark humor things that really get me is the tour guide and the driver of the tractor who had her microphone connected to the speaker on the tractor still on. And as Audrey is chewing Dave out about his language, and then she gets bitten, you hear just, oh, fucking hell, God, what the fuck? And she's like, oh my God, can nobody use right language around these kids? And then sees her, and then you just hear her like, ah, over the speaker on the tractor. And after she becomes a zombie, you can still hear on that speaker, just, like, this is great.
I love the way that was shot, too. Like, they were standing in front of each other, but you could see in between them, meaning Audrey and Dave, you could see between them that the tour guide was going to check on someone who was chewing on an animal. And we basically get to listen to the conversation that Audrey and Dave are having, but also witness this attack on the tour guide at the same time. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was cool to connect those two things like that in a visual way for us to get through that piece of the story. And
they load back up on the tractor, and they go, it's a good thing they got Felix there. He's a tractor master.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. I love tractors. It's like, well, good. We got you here. He knows what's going on.
He's telling Dave how to drive.
I know.
I love it. I'm like,
how do you know all this?
I love tractors.
They get as far as they can, and finally there's a roadblock, and they've got to get out, and that's Audrey is on it with her corralling these kids. It's a superpower. It really is. I don't know how she does it. Like I said, I deal with kids of this age. It's not possible. It's a movie. That's the fiction.
Yeah. I love that she thought so quickly on her feet to be able to protect the kids by telling them, kids, playing a game of tag, they're it. You don't want to let them touch you.
Yeah. And then Conga.
Yeah. Everything that she came up with was just really quick and fun ways to keep the kids distracted from what was really going on.
Yeah. It's a conga line. And then that's kind of one of the first things I noticed where Dave is starting to grow is because in the back of this conga line, he's carrying the boy with spina bifida, which I was like, oh, it's actually really cute. And then that kid's like pew-pewing the zombies all the way. So I was like, that kid knows what's up. He's cool. And then Dave got a lot of great use out of that kid's walker. So
he did.
Which is great. The kid that Teddy terribly called Meals on Wheels, which I was like, oh, that is terrible.
I enjoyed the fact that he used that to his advantage, but then he also made sure that it made it into the building.
Right.
Like, because he brought it with him, and I'm just like, well, you've got a weapon, and it's this child's mobility device. You need to... This is great that you're, taking it seriously.
Yeah. And, he climbs up through the top because Teddy's not letting them in.
No, and let's talk about that. Can we talk about that one thing? Teddy. The problem is I got here first, so you gotta go fuck yourself.
Right.
And she said, they're children. Oh my God, I don't give a shit. Like, the way he said it, Josh Gad, oh my God, so good. Like, he pulled this off so well.
Yes.
And now we can return to talking about Dave. I just had to get that out because I've been waiting.
It's so great the way he delivers it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, because the whole time he's like, it's time for you. Children having fun time. And then he's like, oh, he's a horrible person. Got it.
No, he's wretched.
Yeah. But Dave manages to climb up to the top and bust into the souvenir store through the roof and then fights Teddy on the inside, which that whole bit was brilliant. Which Dave's right. He's like, you're a fucking psycho. Where he's like, I'm going to kill you. But I laughed so hard. Again, one of the little things is when Teddy is trying to smother Dave to death with the tiniest pillow. Killed me.
What did you think when Dave is stapling his face?
Oh, the staples to the face. It's great. I'll stop him for a second. My face, my beautiful TV star face. Like,
Oh,
Which
man.
there's later on the roof whenever he goes, I'm a celebrity, and I'm almost waiting for him to go, get me out of here. That's a big,
Me too.
because that's a big show. There's an American version, but I think one of the bigger versions is the Australian version of that show.
Yeah.
And so I thought they were making that reference, and they didn't fully, but it's still great.
Yeah. Dave was trying to help too. Like, he made sure that everyone could get in.
Yeah.
He got them in and tries to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
Which we haven't talked about with Felix is he has this anaphylaxis.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he's allergic to fish, dairy, eggs, sesame nuts, and gluten. And, you know, Dave doesn't realize that there's dairy in potato chips.
Mm-hmm. Who puts dairy in chips? Yeah.
Exactly. But I felt like that was a moment that I really got to see how much Dave cares about Felix, because he was so scared.
Yeah, he was really scared, but I mean, just the way he was talking to him and just holding him up and assuring him, keeping him awake, asking Beth, which I loved that kid too. She was awesome.
Was so delightful.
Felix's little girlfriend, because, you know, she's singing for him, and like that whole thing was really sweet. And I was like kind of freaking out too, like while watching this. It was very harrowing even for me, because I'm like, I hate seeing Felix struggling right now. This is rough for me. I was like, I don't want this. Get that backpack. Go, Audrey, go.
Yes.
And she's got the return of the scary crow, as I like to call him.
You know, the whole reason she had to go is because Dave had an extra pen and he tried to administer it and it didn't go well.
Yeah, the one that Tess was showing him how to use. And I was like, Dave, you had one job.
Yeah.
You had one job. You switched the colors. You were even making a song about it.
Yeah. No. Doesn't
Blue
work.
to the sky, orange to the thigh. Come on.
Yes, come on. Get it. But Felix doesn't want him to leave, so Audrey decides to go. And this is when I realized she really is a badass.
Yeah.
She didn't hold back. She's got this beautiful yellow dress on and shoes that are not meant to be out and about running around. And she goes out there to get his backpack off the tractor.
Mm-hmm.
She comes into contact with several of the transformed zombies.
Mm-hmm. She's just knocking blocks off with that shovel.
She is. Left and right. As soon as she figured out she could do it once, she did it all the time.
Yeah. It's great. Which I realized she's such a badass even right before that. That scene where she finally confronts Teddy and she's holding like a little thing to his side, like stabbing him just lightly. But I was like, man, because she's threatening to take Teddy out. She's like, my job is to protect these kids. And if you're a danger to that, then I'm supposed to remove that danger. It's like, okay. Make sure to keep him, playing along, that it's a game to keep all the kids calm, to keep them, safer and make it easier, and stop fucking swearing. Which
I love that line. I love that line. And she tells him too. She's like, I'll drag you out by the bow tie and watch them tear you apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh my God, this is great. She's just fantastic. I love her character. Ugh. Because he even just before that looks at her and says, well, I'm a celebrity and you're a liability.
Yeah.
Like, yep, you are. For sure.
Love that.
Once they get back, she and Dave have what I think is kind of their first bonding moment, real bonding. When he starts to talk about his band split up 6 years ago, and
that whole conversation was great. But even before that, I think the first time she saw him before they had that conversation was that first night when they're going to sleep and Beth can't sleep. And so Felix is talking about, this rhyme that my mom came up with. And she's going, that's the whole, like the title Little Monsters comes from, is this Little Monsters line. and Dave picks up on it. He starts mouthing along with it, and then he gets Beth involved, and he really makes it this thing. And of course, then we find, because Tess is his older sister, would use this rhyme for him to calm him and take care of him. Boo boo. So I was like, so the whole Little Monsters rhyme scene may or may not have actually affected me emotionally really hard. I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay.
But,
we'll leave it there.
Maybe, maybe not. We don't know.
You have such a tender heart, Pake, when it comes to these movies.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Yeah, but then their conversation you were talking about, where they really get deep. He talks about that fear of being a bad father, like his own dad, like we talked about, that he's really good with kids. But then we learn a little bit more about Audrey as well. She's a rabid Hanson super fan who found herself teaching and fell in love with it.
Yeah. That was a real special story. I mean, if you think about it, she goes to Australia chasing a band and talks about Taylor, and of course Dave thinks it's Taylor Swift, and it's not, it's Hanson.
Yeah.
And he's like, you mean bop? He's like, yeah, bop. And you get that little bit of Audrey that shows that she's not always had everything perfectly figured out.
Yeah.
But opportunities that present themselves, like the opportunity to work at the school helping kids, helped her find her calling. Because she just completely, whatever was happening, she quickly was able to create some sort of game or thought around it to get the kids to not really know what's going on.
Yeah. And then maybe the most important part for Dave in that conversation, not really. They had a great, actual deep conversation. But Lynn learning she's not actually engaged. Her fiance had cheated on her, and she still just wears the ring to keep guys from hitting on her, which smart move.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Because, that was one thing that really bothered him. I had a note about that in like an extra note thing where I was just like, where is it? Oh, yeah, the zombies are loose and eating people. But even worse than that, Audrey's engaged to a guy. So
the thing is, Tess had told him all the fathers hit on her. Mm-hmm. So he knew ahead of time that she's used to being hit on all the time.
Yeah.
So he might need a different approach.
Mm-hmm. And then we get Miss Caroline.
My goodness.
I was singing along. I loved that. It was so good. So good. So good.
That song is played at Red Sox games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the whole audience gets into it every single time.
Oh, yeah. I was getting into it. Like, I was kind of sad that he kept it really soft in the acoustic version.
He did.
When he first goes, Miss Caroline, I go, bum, bum, bum. And then there was nobody there with me. And he didn't even do it. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You got to get the kids in on it. Let the kids do the bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
But no, nothing.
It's very animated, that song. I've seen it at baseball games, and it is. It's incredibly animated.
Mm-hmm.
He realizes she's into Neil Diamond because she quoted something.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sure where it came from. She says, oh, no, that's Neil Diamond. And so he realized, oh, okay.
Yeah, because what he says, like, I love Neil Diamond, too. I just wasn't ready to accept that. Like,
I thought that song was much better than the one he performed in the bus festival.
Yeah, should have gone with that one to begin with.
Yeah, much better. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed that.
Which, again, just to give some love to Josh Gad as Teddy in that moment.
Oh,
that whole his response during that whole song, where because first is that he's climbing out because he hears the helicopter or whatever, and he's like, I'm taking off, and then he like falls and wakes up the kids or whatever. That pratfall was just hilarious in its own. I think he did great with that. But then when he starts playing the ukulele and he realizes what song he's playing, he's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And you just see him walk off. And then it cuts to him and he's just got the sunglasses on, drunk on hand sanitizer and rubbing alcohol.
Whatever he can get his hands on.
Yeah, and he's just standing over there with the sunglasses on, just like kill me now, please. And
Yep,
it's just
he can't drink enough of it. He wants to be completely intoxicated, so he doesn't have a clue what's going on around them.
But it was fun watching him in that.
There was one thing too when Audrey and Dave were talking, and he actually apologizes to her and says, "I'm sorry, I've been swearing so much." Audrey. And that was like, I think the first time that he actually called her Audrey, because he always was calling her Caroline, Miss Caroline. And so he finally called her Audrey. And her response, "That's fine, David. I'm fucking terrified too."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep. Cool. And then what I think is her mantra the entire film, "I just need them to feel like the adults are in control." And I think that she lived up to that throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Which, if you have any more Dave points to talk about, I have a few, but they really kind of come right to the very end of the episode. I'm still in Strange Indeed mode. Movie. This is a full movie, no episodes. But yeah, because the rest of my notes on him are really just the very end of the movie. So I'm good to jump over and talk a little more.
Audrey?
If I even have a little bit. I don't have a whole lot more about her, but I have a few little things.
All right. I think that we can.
All right. Yeah, because we talked about a lot of her things, just kind of her being a total badass with Teddy and with the backpack and going and getting all that. Of course, all the kids have the same bag. She's just like, oh, God.
Because they all love him. Teddy McGiggle.
Yeah, he's the best, right?
Always.
But yeah, she makes it back. And then she's singing this, I don't want to live on the moon, which was beautiful. That's in that moment, I'm sitting there going, I did not realize Lupita Nyong'o has such an incredible singing voice. I was like, great, one more reason in a long list of them as to why I absolutely love her. Great. Let's just.
I really enjoyed that throughout this movie. She sang a bunch of different times.
Yeah.
And the songs always tied to something going on a little bit. Like she was singing Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep. She was trying to distract the kids from the carnage that was going on around them. And then I love when they get back to like the gift shop and she says to them, "Well, this is the surprise I was talking about." All they really wanted to do is play mini golf, and I think it was Max that really wanted to play mini golf really bad. Because
she was getting stressed out when he starts doing the screaming. I was, oh, there's the 5 and 6 year olds that I'm used to.
Yes,
I want to play mini golf. I want to play mini golf. I was just waiting for her to like finally break good teacher and just smack him. Just like, shut up.
Me too, but she's
better than
nice
that.
For that.
She's better
she's
than that.
So above it. So, yeah, so above it. I mean, she made everything about a game because Teddy was over in the corner complaining and railing and, just being loud and obnoxious and Santa Claus isn't real and the Easter Bunny isn't real. And she just tells them, well, Teddy isn't happy because we're winning. We won the first level. And the kids just bought it and continued. And it was like a special adventure.
Yeah.
That they were on.
Until it started taking too long. I love that one little girl. I was like, can we stop playing this game? It doesn't make any sense. I
think they were all at that point. Right? I do. I think they'd all had enough at that point.
Yeah. But another thing I thought was just kind of a clever little thing is when Dave and Audrey are having that conversation where he says, how do you do it? Be a superhero? And she goes, not quite. And I was like, oh, okay. Way to be modest, Nakia from Black Panther.
Yeah. Wait, she wasn't so modest. I mean, she really was. She was just this sweet teacher.
But so she keeps talking about, I'm not a superhero. I'm not a superhero. It's like, yes, you're in the Marvel universe. You are in Black Panther.
You are.
You are.
You
a superhero.
Yes. And that was filmed before this, so yeah. You are.
But yeah, just talking about other roles that she's played. Love me some Lupita Nyong'o. Very much so. And so I have a little note with that. I was like, by the way, we need to cover Us because I need more her.
Yes, so we can do it.
We'll do it.
It fits. It's good. I liked it a lot. I know some people were on the fence because they really like to Get Out and were expecting something the same. I like that it was different. I'm down with it.
I liked Get Out a lot. I think Us was even better, personally.
Yeah.
I liked Us way better.
Can't wait for what Jordan Peele does next.
Right.
I think you told me his next one is called Nope.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing, no information about it, so I'm interested.
It's a secret.
Yeah, but that's really all of my other, Audrey notes that we hadn't talked about.
I have one note that's kind of at the end, and it's when she finally tells Max that he can play putt-putt.
Yeah. He's putt-putting some zombie heads. That's good enough for him.
Yep, he was totally down.
So, yeah. So, again, I say, my Dave notes are kind of at the very end, so
yeah,
we'll circle back around to everything. So, let's talk Teddy.
Oh, Teddy.
So I've got more notes about him, too. The kids love him. He loves Miss Caroline. Dave's just trying to consider how he's going to have to fight him the whole time. It's
I like that every word that comes out of his mouth, the kids are always saying, bad word, because you said a bad word.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what 5-year-olds would say, too.
Well, it's his song that he wrote and taught them how to sing.
Yeah.
On his show. It's his fault.
I know. I know. It's great. Yeah,
but in times of trouble, he shows his true colors. What a Teddy McBitchel.
Yes.
So, yeah, because you talked about him not letting them in and the things he said there. But
the way he said them, it wasn't just what he said. After we see him at the beginning of when they get to the Pleasant Valley Park, and he's all happy-go-lucky and making these overly giggly noises and has Frogsy, and the world is just lovely and delightful. To this guy that just is like, the problem is, I got here first, so you got to go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. The way he said things was even more damning, I think.
Mm-hmm. And he's just like an idiot. When he climbs up on the roof and then just falls off. But Dave, luckily, truly shows that he's actually a really good guy. He saves Teddy even when he's terrible. And then they have their little conversation on the roof. You think throughout the movie that Teddy's turning over a better leaf and he's becoming a better person. But no. But we find out these little things about him. He's a children's entertainer who's only in it for the sex with the moms.
Yes.
His real name is Nathan, which I love. He's like, oh, Nathan McGiggle. No, Schneider.
As if anyone is named McGiggle. I apologize if any of our listeners have a last name of McGiggle. It doesn't occur to me that would be a last name. I've never heard it before this movie.
But I love that. My name's Nathan. Oh, Nathan McGickle. The way he's just like, that makes sense.
Yeah, he talks about all the women he slept with, and he said it's only to take away the pain because he's dead inside. Mm-hmm. And then he had to announce to us and poor Dave that something that smelled was actually him. Yeah,
he shits his pants and he's like, I'm sorry, I tried to blame it on you. The only other person who's there with him on the roof. Like, he's just... Yeah. That's who he is.
I think...
And there's also a really weird running joke through the whole movie that I was like, it's hilarious. It's a funny running gag, but I was like, why? Is that Teddy constantly keeps calling Dave fat, fatty, fatso. And it's like, dude's ripped. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about either. Like, Teddy, take a look at yourself before you start making judgments on other people. You should look within first. Oh, man. He had that delightful little Frogsy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, honestly, he got the best. He got the ending he deserved.
Oh, absolutely. In the McGigglemobile. Which, he was right, that is a much better idea than the tractor would have been, but of course he ruins it by going out there, which, again, you think he's turning over a new leaf because him and Dave come up with this plan. They're going to go get the McGigglemobile. I loved seeing Teddy out on the playground with the zombie kids. Just, he's being a badass, motherfucker. literally. As he walks on that playground, hi-ho, Kiddlywinks, and just starts taking them out with tire swings and a board that he picks up, and he legitimately bites one of them in the face, like bites its nose off.
It's like, what am I doing?
So I was like, yeah, rooting for him for a minute, and then he gets into the McGigglemobile, locks the doors, and flips off Dave, and is like, bye, I'm going. And it was like, oh, no. But Frogsy has a different plan for him, so that's
yes,
great.
Thank you, Frogsy.
Mm-hmm.
He got a very brutal
selfish,
death, too.
terrible person. He can giggle dance his way to hell. That's fine.
Yes, absolutely. And then, so poor Dave has to climb to the top of the McGigglemobile,
mm-hmm.
which sounds ridiculous when you say it. McGigglemobile. I don't know if you could say that 5 times fast without, like, tripping up over your tongue. But
I almost tried it, but I won't.
No. And Dave is on top of the McGigglemobile, and he gets the call from Tess, because Tess has been trying to reach them, but there's been no cell service. So I'm not sure what was up with that, other than maybe it was a blackout from that area because of the stuff going on, which we haven't even talked about, but we'll get to when we talk about the monsters a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Tess is finally able to get through to Dave. And Dave is able to tell her that, you know, Felix is okay. But he's more concerned with making sure she knows that he appreciates all she did for him as a big sister.
Which was great.
Which was wonderful. And at this time, we transition to the youngest hero of the film.
Mm-hmm. I love Felix so much. He's just beyond adorable. Just the kid. I loved him, but his tractor
right
and
from
his
the start.
bad word song and teasing Dave, but like in the cutest ways. Though, boo-boo.
Yes. I love when, even right from the start, Dave says to him, make me some coffee. And he's like, I can't make coffee. I'm 5.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back and tells his mother, because the naked man punched Uncle Dave on the nose because Auntie Sarah has a slutty vagina.
Right.
I'm like, hearing that from a child's mouth, I just couldn't.
Right. It's a...
Yeah.
What? Uncle Dave, what's a douche? What's a douchebag? And then when he says it again, and Beth is like, what is it? And it's like, oh, what? Because then he retains that information. I love that.
Yes, because kids do.
Very clinical. He's just like, oh yeah, it's a little bag that women use to irrigate their vaginas. And it's like, he knows. He
pays attention.
Yep.
He pays attention. Yeah.
But he's a big fan of one Teddy McGiggle. I mean,
yes.
We see curtains and bed sheets and pictures and everything. Everything in the house is all Teddy McGiggle.
They all have those Teddy McGiggle backpacks.
Yeah.
That are like Frogsy.
Mm-hmm. And his tofu and broccoli pizza. Which actually would probably be really good if done correctly. I don't know how good of a cook Tess is, but
yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think Dave had the right idea to go get a real pizza.
Yeah. I'm going to go get a real pizza covered in cheese and gluten.
But Felix...
That kid. And seeing him when they show up at the farm and he gets to do his giggle dance on stage with his hero, Life Made.
Oh my gosh. Because that means everything to kids when they see things. I once got, when I went to a competition, they had Elsa and Anna there, like people dressed up, and I had them record a special message for my nieces who were like 4 and 6 or 3 and 5, I think. They were blown away by it. They thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
When they think that their hero is connecting with them, it's just such a big deal.
Yeah.
But then the littlest hero, Felix, he sees that his uncle's in trouble. And he knows how to drive a tractor.
Darth Vader goes off and goes to save Uncle David. He uses the Force to close a gate. Don't anybody tell me differently. He did it.
He did. He saved that little lamb.
Saves the little baby lamb, and then, drives the tractor right over the mini golf kangaroo. That's okay. Don't worry about it. The clutch is on the left. Stay in character. The clutch is on the left.
I don't know how you didn't see this movie when
I know. I'd never heard of it till now.
It's such a movie for you.
Now one of my favorites forever.
I love it. I'm glad that you like it.
Yeah. Yep.
And Felix comes to the rescue.
He does.
Which is in the nick of time because outside of our little pleasant valley, the military was gathering.
It's always the Americans. Always.
Always. Always. Something went down at a plant. But we'll get to that.
I thought it was funny that one guy just obsessing over the deadly animals of Australia, which, let's be honest, that's all of them. Yes. Especially the zombie. Wait, no, I guess they're responsible for that one.
Were you thinking of the box jellyfish? It's present in coastal waters, and their sting leads to necrosis, muscle spasms, and cardiac arrest. That just makes me think of the precursor to the zombie.
Mm-hmm. I know all about the box jellyfish.
You do?
Yep. It's pretty scary. Not all about, but know about.
I also, though, thought it was funny that one of the soldiers said, "Zombies again? Fast or slow?" Slow. Oh, okay. Like, this is no big deal. Like, This has been happening. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
At their little testing facility and Project Regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were reading about some of those things because they were using that in their little experiments.
Mm-hmm.
But Felix saves the day.
He does.
He gets his uncle, and then they go and get all the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And Audrey. And drive.
Yeah.
Not very quickly.
Yeah.
But they drive along. And
they load them all into the tractor. And yes, Max can shut up about his putt-putt now.
Yes. After he got done hitting them on the head, he didn't want them holding on to it either, so he grabbed the thing and was hitting them again, like trying to keep their hands off it.
Mm-hmm.
So he did get his putt-putt.
Yeah.
I think that they did learn some interesting things, though, that they were doing, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, and the zombies were clapping their hands.
Yeah, they were like copying actions of like cheering and clapping. I was like, this is weird. Which, that's the one thing that if I had a complaint about this movie, I was like, why are they throwing that in there about like this weird zombie behavior? But it literally was there just for a joke. And I can appreciate that because when they finally get let through, and it's like, they respond to music. You can calm them down with music. Just play a song for them. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Just mow them down.
Good old Felix saved the day.
Yeah, because they do. They decide the military, was going to just shoot them and take them out. No, take anything out. No stragglers. But then the general heard the kids singing. Dave telling him there's children, and he just can't shoot children.
No.
Again.
Oh, my goodness. It's like, oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, that's where they make it through. And those are my last little notes about Dave that I was holding on to is they make it through, they get out, Dave and Audrey finally kiss, and it was explosive. Literally. But then them and the kids are all snatched up and we cut to black. Just to kind of jump forward a little bit, we see everybody's safe. The parents have been told what's going on somewhat. Not all the specifics, but a little bit. And then, they just have to ride out a couple of days of quarantine. And they got the jam session powers to make that easy enough. So we see see Audrey and Dave singing Shake It Off with all the kids singing along and playing. And at that point, I was like, that is just awesome. I was like, I love this movie. My heart is happy.
Well, then they let the parents in to actually see the kids and saw that they were okay. And I like, too, that the military explained to the family that it was the teachers that kept them safe.
Yeah.
Throughout the situation, even though they don't know how dire the situation is or was, they know that they had a situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, one of those things where Tess is watching her brother interact with his nephew in his class and the teacher, and you see her eyes tearing up and stuff. Again, I can neither confirm nor deny if I was in the same state she was at the time of watching this. Who's to say? Really? Probably happened, probably didn't. Who knows?
Yeah. I thought the way they ended it was great.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, oh, we need to do a sequel. There was no, oh, it needs to be more than it is. They let the movie be what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Which was a heartwarming, gory visit to a farm where the zombies took over and our favorites made it out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm down with that.
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad they got out. I just have like a few little straggler notes, it looks like. Yeah, this is the army planning to drop the bomb on the souvenir store because that's where all the dead are gathered. And it's like, well, you don't want to see why that's the case? Why are they all gathered there? Clearly there's a reason. Maybe, a group of 5-year-olds that are attracting them with noise and being food.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand that because they could have had a drone, like they could have used drone technology, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed kind of out of sorts, like they didn't really have a clue what they were doing. So.
They're just ready to.
They're ready to blow things up, but it's like there are people there, kids, and their families are here at the door.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We know people are in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, they probably just assumed that anybody who was in there is turned in as a zombie at this point. They don't think there's going to be any survivors. Or if there are, it's not worth the risk of trying to get them out. I don't know. There's the whole those implications.
Yeah. It's too bad.
Yeah. But then the only other note that I have that I just had to mention because I thought it was fun was the zombie with a face full of echidna quills. That was hilarious.
Wasn't that great?
It's hilarious to me.
They did such a great job with this movie. I really enjoyed it so much, and I'm glad that I could bring it to you so you could enjoy it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other notes on this film except for what I have in production notes. So we will get to those.
Can't wait to hear it.
All right. There's not a lot, but there are a few things that I think you might find interesting. So, Abe Forsythe has only directed 4 films. Little Monsters is his latest. He was tapped to direct the next movie in the RoboCop franchise, but there's no information available on it. Now we know that he's been busy with Wolf Like Me.
Which I've never heard of, but I looked into it a little bit after seeing these notes, and I might have to check it out.
I know. I'm feeling like that, too. He has worked with many of the actors from Little Monsters in previous films. Little Monsters is dedicated to Forsythe's son, whose first day of kindergarten inspires parts of the story. His son also appears as School Kid Zombie in the movie. Forsythe has a cameo at the beginning of the movie as a police officer. What I thought was probably the biggest part of my production notes is this one note. When the film couldn't get the rights to Taylor Swift's Shake It Off, good old Lupita Nyong'o reached out to Taylor Swift personally to explain why the song was important to the narrative, and Swift granted the rights.
That's so cool.
Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
Nyong'o learned to play the song on the ukulele in a few weeks, just so that she could play it in the pivotal scene.
That is incredible.
I know. More reason to just love her.
Mm-hmm. Not that I need any more reasons to already absolutely love her, but you know what? Give me more if you can. I'll take them.
I know. Now I feel like I'm going to have to move us higher up on the list, so we do it earlier. It was actually Josh Gad's idea to bite the nose of the zombie kid. I thought that's funny.
Yeah,
if
I
you
can
think
see
about,
that.
like, how he was. Yeah. So they did release a soundtrack, and they featured Nyong'o and England's version of Shake It Off, in addition to most other songs being the children's songs that were performed by Nyong'o, England, or Gad. And then, as we mentioned earlier, those who are looking for this film may also find references to the 1989 film of the same name with Howie Mandel and Fred Savage. They're not the same film, and they're not connected in any way.
No, not at all.
And those are my production notes.
Those are awesome. I loved this movie. I'm glad that we covered it. I'm glad that I learned about it and watched it, and
good.
It was great.
I am so glad that you enjoyed it so much. I was hoping, because I feel like it's in the vein of Cooties.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's not directly just like Cooties, but it's got some of those same elements that I thought you would like. And there were a few things that reminded me of Black Sheep as well, so it all kind of... I felt like it was going to be a solid one for us, that we'd have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Oh, but speaking of that, perfect timing. And maybe see what other people had to think about this one.
I know. I can't wait.
Let me grab it. All right. Feedback this week. We have a couple of messages about the movie we did 2 weeks ago, because we took last week off for some stuff. But about Antlers. And so we have a little bit more from Tony on that one, because she did give us some thoughts about how dark it was visually
yes.
when we did the feedback for that. But then after kind of covering it, she gave us a little bit more, which I will like. I don't know why I teed it up, and then I'm going to let you read it.
You are.
That's how we're doing this today.
So Tony had the following to say. It was incredibly dark. I loved what you guys said about it. I thought the acting was incredible. That boy who played the older brother, oh my gosh, your heart just broke for the pain he was going through. The story was pretty good, although predictable and pretty basic. The monster was cool, what I could see. The embers flying around and the heart glowing in the chest I loved too. But when I was watching it, I told my husband, I can hear that something is happening, I just can't see it. I think the ritual showcased this particular creature better.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm glad that, you did, elaborate a little bit more on the things that you really did like, and thanks for the kind words about our coverage.
Yeah.
And the ritual, again, I'll make a little plug for that. That's one of our early episodes of this podcast.
Episode 6, I think.
Yeah, so I think that is still on Netflix. So if people haven't seen that and listened to us, go back and do that. It is a very similar creature. It's not necessarily the exact same. It's like it's a different culture, a different folklore, but it is very similar.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. I definitely see the connections for sure.
Yeah, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the similarities between the two, but I do agree with you. Tony, I think we could see it just a little bit better in the ritual than we could in this one.
And then one more follow-up on Antlers comes from Alma Contreras. Says, I just got done listening to this podcast, and you guys really did a good job with this movie. I, too, was one of the few that caught this in the theater. Very sad and disturbing flick, and I will probably never watch it again, but I do think it was well made.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think we both said that in this podcast, that we may not watch it again. It was really dark.
I saw it twice. Again, watched it in theaters as well, and then watching it to prep for this podcast. I'm like, now I think I'm definitely good on that one. As much as I did enjoy it, it's a rough one. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, definitely.
But of course, we do have a little bit of feedback about this week's movie, Little Monsters, and hopefully next week we may have some more. I'm totally cool with this, like people giving us some like follow-up feedback and a week after the episode.
Yeah.
It's a little different, but I don't mind it. So we will keep on waiting around listening for maybe some more Little Monster stuff. But to kick it off, this week we do have some live Steving.
We do. And here it is.
All right, here we go. Pake and Daphne, Little Monsters, Hulu, 2019. Okay. I've got a few friends that I don't recognize their birthday until I see it on Facebook. It's got to be Facebook official, right? I have no idea what this movie's about, but I just watched a 2-minute compilation of this couple fighting with each other, and he's a street musician? Tra-la-la-la-la-la. Bad word, bad sing. Okay. Worst proposal scene ever. Whoa! Did he just hit that kid with the door because he was... Oh, my God, Uncle Dave. You're not a very good person. I just have to say that Taylor Swift has come up in, like, so many shows in the last, like, week or so. This Shake It Off with the kids and is crazy. Okay, now I see why it's a Run for Your Lives movie. This guy eating zombie, whatever he is. All right, Teddy McGiggles is creepy. How do you know my mom? Uh-huh. All right, dude. I know it's been, like, for me, it's even been like 30 years since I drove a clutch, but I think I can figure it out. You better figure it out quick. The surprise you were talking about was zombies? Teddy McGiggles, you don't give a shit? That's not right, man. Did he just make Tummy McGiggles throw up from crushing his balls? Okay, there's a lot of time left in this, and they're stuck in a cabin in the woods. Oh, dang. In his little prayer, he said little monsters. Mic drop. Okay, this is a Neil Diamond song he's singing. I can't remember which one. Crackling Rose? Who's Caroline? Okay, I got it. We all love Neil Diamond and don't want to admit it. Felix in the Darth Vader costume is going to save the day? Great. Okay, I don't know how I feel about this ending, but I've gone over 2 minutes, so talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve, for sending in your feedback this week. If you would like to be like Steve, Alma, or Tony and send us feedback, you can do so by reaching out to us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/runforyourlivespodcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter at RFYL Podcast or on Instagram at runforyourlivespodcast. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much all the other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do. And talking about sharing the love, I'll go ahead and give a little, a few shout outs to some of the stuff going on in the podcast universe around us. My other podcast, Strange Indeed, we are back. We've been back. We came back last week, actually, but we didn't have an episode last week, so you didn't get to know that then. But you do know. you know now. So me and Rima are back, and we are, even though it came out in October, we're circling back. So if you watched it, or if you want to watch it, we are covering season 3 of the Netflix original series, You. I had never seen this show before. I binged the first 2 seasons to get into it, and I'm really liking it. I'm really enjoying it. It is a great mix. It is very, very dark humor. It is a hilarious show, but it is very dark. So it fits right in with what me and Rima love to do over on Strange Indeed. So that's been a lot of fun. We are covering 2 episodes a week, so we're flying through this pretty fast. We've already done the first 4 episodes. So, yeah, definitely get on that and check that out if you're interested. And then on House Podcastica, they are covering the Book of Boba Fett, which the finale episode should be coming out pretty soon, within the next few days. Holy crap, that Boba Fett finale was... Oh, my Star Wars nerd heart is happy. It was so much fun. You can also check out Panels to Pixels, where Steve, right there, you heard earlier, is doing double duty over there right now. He is covering The Witcher Season 2 with Laura. And then him and somebody you might recognize named Daphne are covering Season 3 of Snowpiercer. How's that been going so far?
It is going great. The show, it keeps you on your toes. The cinematography is just as incredible now as it was in the first season. And yeah, we're digging into it. It's a lot of fun. It's different. Like every season, I feel like they have an underlying thread of a story that they're trying to tell. And this season is no different. So check it out if you guys like Snowpiercer. I always say that it's the greatest show that nobody's watching. So please check it out.
Nice. See, also on Adrenaline Cinema, you can check out the new episode where Jamie and Mark are discussing my favorite Jasons, or their favorite Jasons. And what that means is all of the iterations of the Friday the 13th movies, breaking down their favorite iterations of Jason Voorhees throughout those movies.
Yes.
So that'll be a fun one for sure. On the Walking Dead cast, Jason, Karen, and David just talked a Run for Your Lives movie that we have also covered pretty early on this podcast, Jaws.
Yes.
So you want to hear their take on that. It was a lot of fun. And they will be back with some Walking Dead coverage sooner than you think.
Yes.
Because The Walking Dead returns February 20th. That is not long at all. It's right around the corner. So
I'm excited
for that. On TV podcast industries, they are also covering The Witcher Season 2, so episodes 5 through 8 of that are out now or soon when you're hearing this. So check that out as well. And then finally on Wilhelm, our good friend Ben is releasing his Love is in the Air episode where he's talking top 5 favorite TV couples. I gave some feedback to that
You
one.
did?
So if you want to know what mine are, if he reads them off, then you're going to have to go check that out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what mine are. I saw his post about it, and I don't think I could narrow it down enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I sent anything in. I should have, but I didn't. Sorry, Ben.
All right. But one more thing to shout out, and that is Run for Your Lives right here. If you tune in next week right here on the podcast, Daphne, what are they going to be hearing?
Well, when a meteorite crashes in Wheelsy, South Carolina, it infects one of the town's wealthiest residents, who then abducts a local woman to serve as the incubation for his alien larvae. It's pandemonium as the town becomes infected by its offspring, and it's up to Police Chief Bill Purdy to save the remaining citizens. Yes, we're going back to the movie that introduced us. Yes, we're going back to the movie that introduced us to James Gunn. We're covering his film Slither, which came out in 2006.
Yeah, be very fun. We have a special guest co-host on that episode.
Someone who's never been on Run for Your Lives before.
Yeah. So definitely check that one out and get your feedback ready for that one now too.
Yeah.
That's about it. But if it's a cult classic in a lot of circles. So if you know it or if you haven't seen it, go watch it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I always love feedback. That's why we do this whole section here.
Yeah. And with that, we've reached the end of another fun episode. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you'd better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.